Hey guys, I am Lindsay and this is my husband Joshua. We are the Byrds and we have been backpacking for the last 7 weeks on foot. We started in New Jersey and we plan to end up in Texas. So we decided to make a video about how this all came to be. We've shared our story and testimony with quite a few people so far. We have an Instagram account, Roll His Way, ROLEHISWAY. We'll tag it below. We have our YouTube channel, and we also have a Facebook page because we found that a lot of people along the way who do not use Instagram had Facebook. We are not very active on it, but we do sync everything from Instagram to there. So you can follow our journey and learn more about us and the last 7 weeks. We felt it was a good time to put together a video and just share how this all came to be. So I guess about a month and a half before we left, in June of 2020, we had been working on our condo that we recently purchased last year, and it hadn't even been a year yet, and we were fixing up the bedroom, putting in a new pallet wall, a walk-in closet, and we did all of the construction ourselves. We had power tools, and we were just getting things situated so that we could either in the future rent it out or sell it. But around June, mid-June, Josh found out from his family that his grandfather was ill. So he took a week trip to go visit him and his family. I worked for the military at the time in the child care centers, so I couldn't leave the state due to COVID, and I was on a mile radius restriction, so I couldn't go. And this is really where God started showing us and revealing the confirmation that I was soon to realize what that meant. So I had been fasting, reading the Bible, getting more into my, knowing my relationship with God and asking Him a lot of things, praying. And being alone, I felt that I had more headspace and clarity. And I really was hearing God and seeing things in our home differently. And God began to give me visions on a timeline about the things that were taking place in our house, the process of the renovations and how everything was going to be. And it was very confusing. I had actually been ordering test strips to test my ovulation to get pregnant. I had been looking online to buy new rugs and somewhat getting overwhelmed and anxious about everything being perfect. I had just bought a new juicer. I was learning how to juice celery and carrots and starting to get really into that. And then when Josh left for that week, I had everything kind of stopped. I felt like I didn't want to be doing any of those things. And it wasn't really a depression, but it was just a lack of excitement for all of that. So one day I had been out driving and I saw this homeless woman who I didn't know was homeless at the time, but she was on the other side of this highway in our area. And I was talking to Josh and I said, I feel God is calling me to pick this woman up and help her. It was 99 degrees outside. She was walking with 2 heavy plastic bags of clothing. And God said, help her. So I circled and looped around, and, it was COVID. I did have on my mask, and I did consider that, but this is one of the only times that the Lord has actually drawn me to do this for someone. And I have a heart for helping people, and no one should have to walk in 99 degrees on a desert highway. So I went and I picked her up, and it was a long day I dropped her off only a couple miles away, but I felt God was calling me to go purchase a backpack for her. And we had run the homeless ministry at our church, so that's something I'm very familiar with doing, is, giving back. So I found a backpack, I filled it with necessities and care items like socks and whatnot. and I couldn't find her. So I drove around for 3 hours in the neighborhoods where I had heard that she frequented, but due to COVID, it was really hard to find her. And I never saw her again to this day. So that backpack sat with me, and I knew God was telling me someone was going to need a backpack. And of course, that's something that everyone could use, a backpack full of care products. There's many homeless people in everyone's city. So I didn't really understand what he was showing me. So that sat in our living room for a few days after he got home. Well, I'm not exactly sure of the date specifically of when this all came to be, but I do remember having a very difficult time forming the words to describe what God was showing me. And it was a spiritual struggle. It was as if this chamber in my vocal cords had been closed, and all I saw was this black clogged chamber. And at the time that I was trying to explain to Josh, I felt very frustrated, and it started coming off very frustrating. And so I asked him to pray for me, and I was crying. I was very emotional. My voice was locked. I began gagging and coughing as if I was spitting something up, spitting out this whatever, but nothing was coming out. It was just like this gag, and it hurt. And I saw God revealed to me a chamber opening, and this gook came out, spiritually. It wasn't physical. And Josh was praying over me. And after I settled down, it took about an hour for me to really collect my thoughts and calm myself down from what had just happened. I was able to share with him some things that God had shown me while he was gone. And I think the fear of confronting the truth was actually what I was battling. And so what came out was, all I could say was, Josh, God showed me us in our house with all of our material possessions, all of the things that I've saved from when I was a child. And I had let things go over time moving, but I still had a collection of things and books and notes and clothes and jewelry that I had been saving. And God showed it to me very clearly. We had art supplies that we just finished this area of our house and putting things in place and making a home. That's what our goal was to make a home. And God showed me during quarantine, when I was by myself, that was no longer to be, that he gave us the opportunity to do that. He answered our prayer dreams, to have that as we wanted it and get the rug and the shelving that we wanted. But now all I saw was us and backpacks, and it was very clear. There was nothing else that came out. It was just, Josh, this is our home, and now we can only have backpacks. And I was emotional. I was confused. I wasn't very frustrated about it. It seemed very to the point. God is saying this is what's to come. And our faith in God is so strong that I didn't have much issue affirming that after I said that was what it was. And, I'm going to kick it over to Josh, because then he shared something that had happened to him years prior. And this is really what I was confirming at that time. So after I told him, then Josh said, well, 8 years ago, this is what God showed me.
Yeah, so whenever she told me what she told me, I had a dream 8 years ago. And really the only person that I told a few people about it, but primarily my mom, because my mom was in it. And I hadn't told Lindsay because I hadn't even thought about it in 3 years. We'd only been married for almost like a year and a half, almost 2. And anyway, the dream 8 years ago, I was in Massachusetts. I was landscaping, and I didn't have, I had a cell phone, but I didn't really watch YouTube. I had just gotten a smartphone maybe a couple months before, so I really didn't even know how to use it. I'm one of those people that didn't really care about the internet. But anyway, so I guess essentially the dream went like this. I'm walking through the woods, through towns, through cities, through the woods again, and just walking. And then all of a sudden I turn around and I look, and there's people with me. And I don't know, I don't have an exact count, 15, 30, somewhere in there. And we're just walking. And every once in a while we would stop and we would do like jack of all trades work, like little cutting down trees or this or that, here and there for people. But it was like in the dream, it was like every step was very, very calculated. Turn left, turn right, like everything was preyed upon on which way we would go. So the next thing that happens is we're standing in a wooded area, and I'm pleading with a portion of the group, and I'm telling I'm telling them we can't go through the town. Yeah, it will be easier to go through the town, but we need to go through the forest. And I'm literally just pleading with them, like, please listen, we can't do that. Well, they didn't listen, and they took off toward the town. And I didn't go with them, but I saw where they went and what happened. And what happened is when they got into the town, it was like a military convoy, like Humvees, like military personnel dressed in the fatigues, and they were scooped up by this convoy. And in the dream, it was great sorrow. Like I just felt great sorrow, like because I knew what happened to them wasn't good. And then, so I'm back with the rest of the group. We keep walking, and then the next thing you know, I'm opening up the back gate to my mom's house in Texas. And she has kind of a long driveway, and one of those, like, it's not a swing gate, it's a gate on rollers. So I open it up and I look up, and there are people there. Some I know, some I don't, but a group of people. And my mother comes walking down the driveway, and she says, I said to her, Mom, I brought all these people with me. And she says, it's okay, we've been expecting you. Come in. And I wake up. And that was the dream. And as soon as I told it to Lindsay, Lindsay's like, that's exactly what's going to happen. And I was like, well, calm down. Let's pray about this. So, we're still in the flesh and we could still make bad decisions just like everybody else. And so that is really what kicked it all off for this trip. Now, 2 days later, I called my mom, and all I did was tell my mom what Lindsay said about the backpacks. And my mom immediately brings up the dream. And then says that a few days or, something like that before I showed up in Texas for my grandfather's, for what was going on with my grandfather, that she was in prayer and the Lord brought the dream back to her attention. And she began to pray and ask the Lord when we were going to have to take the walk. I guess when he brought it back to her attention, it was, it's here, like, here we go. Now, mind you, in the 8 years that, when I had the dream, I woke up and told my mom, but we only talked about it a handful of times. I wasn't like prepping, buying gear, or doing any of this. I was just living my life trying to get closer with the Lord. And so, that's essentially what kicked it off. We went through the process of praying about it, fasting about it, talking to our pastor, essentially going to the elders of the church and our local ministry and saying, hey, this is what God's showing us. What is it? Please tell us if we're crazy. You know what I mean? Essentially, and waiting on the Lord to confirm it. In the middle of this, our pastor told me that I was going to speak one Sunday. And so I began to just ask the Lord, like, what is, when you go into fasting and prayer about something like this, like, there's a lot that starts going on, like, and what he showed us, was just essentially like through other ministries, through other people, just through other things that we, people were saying, we were seeing, is just essentially like chaos in this country. And it kind of scared us, like, to be honest with you, where we were like, man, we really need to get out of Dodge, where we were at. But it kind of calmed us down. So basically what I'm saying is, through all of this process, when I was asked to speak, I was like, all right, Lord, what is it that you're trying to show us? What is it that you want to tell your people? Help us, and help me, because I don't really even know what to do with myself right now, because it was a huge decision to do what we're doing. And so that message was kind of like, I don't know if we'd say it's like the pinnacle point of it all, that he gave me. And this is literally, he gave me the message to speak to the church, and literally gave me the message of what we're doing this for. What are we going to say? First and foremost, it is all about the gospel of Jesus Christ. It is encouraging the saints. It is calling men into repentance, and telling people you need to turn back to the Lord, put your faith and trust in Jesus Christ, repent of your sins. But what are we going out to do? And this is what he gave me. This nation's in judgment. And wave one was already here. All this, the coronavirus, the racial tension, all of these things, God can use anything to judge a nation. And it doesn't take a genius to figure out why he would judge this nation. But that was wave one, and wave two was on the way, and there will be more waves, just like you see at the beach. You can just sit there and count waves. I don't know how many there'll be. I don't know how bad it'll get. That's for everyone to pray on. But that's essentially what he showed me, is that this nation's already in judgment. Wave two is, that was in late July, August, something like that. And wave two was on the way then. So, okay, well, so we know this. So now we're going out. You're sending us out in the beginning or the part of wave two. So what do we do, But I don't know.
Yeah, and one of the things that happened when I had picked up the woman who was on the side of the road is I didn't have much money on me, and I wanted to help her out. And I said, I only have, this was before the backpack. I said, I have $7. I would like to give you more, but this is all I have. She said, oh, that will be fine. I'll make sure it'll go to use, and I'll have my people send it back to you. Send it to your car. And she starts tapping on my car. And it was a moment for me that really confirmed that I was entertaining an angel, that God had used that time to show me and speak to me. I don't often have those moments. So, and even having dealt with the homeless ministry, we could be entertaining angels at any time, but this one really spoke to me. And the way that she was tapping my car, it was almost comical, but it stood out. God has a sense of humor, and a lot of times that's how he speaks to us, and especially to me. For example, the home that we own is my dad's previous condo, and before he retired, he sold it to us. And I had lived there a couple of times, and it was a 1-bedroom place, and I'm grateful for that. But I always said that and it might have been in, my own attitude at those times in my life before, I came to really know God and find gratitude in my life, that I had said I would never end up back there again. And I was full of, pride and ego because I wanted to do everything on my own, and I didn't like asking for help, and I would have an attitude about it if people would try to help me. And God turned that around, and I found it very comical to now own the property that I very once said I would never be back in living. So when that came to be, as we've been walking, God revealed to me that, and it was really right before we left, that God revealed to me that how we have helped and impacted the community in our own way, and have been obedient to God's call in the ministry up until that point, we would see the reward, and that we would be blessed and taken care of along this journey. And so we will be making more videos to share with you, in addition to what we've already posted online along the way. But there are so many moments along this journey and walking that he has been patient with us to help us figure out, and brought us to meet people who could help us and help, him provide for us, because really God has led this entire path, this entire journey. And, it's something that has shown me, how he really talks to me specifically is also through people. And I know that that's true for many of you watching, that people in your lives have been your confirmation of God and the things that they say. And at this moment, I feel that it's very important to impress that you hear those people, that you consider at least things that you're hearing and what they're saying to you, because God doesn't make mistakes. People do. And we have to be very aware of the fact of when we are not considering that God could be speaking. But I think we both have experienced so much along this way, and he's shaping us and teaching us a lot about ourselves and about our marriage and about trusting in him and being led by him. And so I'm just grateful that he did come through on his promise that his word is true, that he will provide, and he has.
And I'll say this, I was talking to somebody just here recently, and I understand what I've said. I understand what the Lord showed me. I understand how it can be perceived. And I had someone ask me, I actually had a pastor ask me here recently, what are you claiming to be, like some kind of Jeremiah or something like that? And no, I'm not. We're just a couple. I'm just a guy just a man out here trying to do what the Lord told him to do. And he didn't give us he told us to go to Philly and head west. He's given us places, like instruction to go here and there for various reasons. And sometimes we don't even know. We just start walking toward that place, and he shows up and does what he does. And praise the Lord for it, that he is faithful. But no, I'm not out here claiming to be some kind of prophet, not out here claiming to be some this or that or nothing. I'm just a servant of Christ, and we both are. And that's really plain and simple. So I don't want anybody to think that, with everything going on, there's so many people that claim this, that I'm this, and that's not what this is. This is really, he showed us in the beginning, just do what I told you to do. There's no debate about this. Just go say it, and you'll be okay, I guess. I don't even know if we'll be okay. We'll see what happens. In the dream, we make it to Texas. Amen. But I just want to clarify that. I think it's really important, because we've run into various situations where, everything's a sign from God. You kick a rock and one side's pink and one side's white. It's a sign from God, just on and on and on and on. And it's really not what this is. We went through the ringer even up until the day we left, tossing and turning and wrestling with the Lord if we should even go,
And even after having 5 confirmations from various directions, there was still another confirmation, and we would be stubborn in our place and say, well, we need to wait for one more confirmation, and then there would be another. And the last 2 confirmations that really came for us was my car, selling the car and how that would work out, and leaving our jobs, because we did have 2 very solid jobs that anyone would be crazy to walk away from. That's what I would have thought before. But what I know, and that God showed me after I had this experience when Josh was away, I woke up after being able to express to him what God had shown me, and fighting that fear of I knew that it was the truth, and something was wrestling with me, and it wasn't just flesh, it was spiritual. I had been held under this, I don't know what to call it, a shadow of deception. It did not want me to speak truth. And this has been something that's a pattern in my life that I've become privy to notice the game that it plays on me, that the enemy has held me in this shadow where I will second guess every good choice and decision that God has has called me to fulfill, and I will sabotage it and fall into that. And I know that this is speaking to someone else, because you're running yourself in circles, and I had been doing that. And I gave my life to God because I knew that I couldn't make the good choices without him, because I didn't know
No one can.
right from wrong. And we are all that way, and we have to submit and acknowledge and humble down to hearing that. And so if you cannot hear God, I would ask you to consider, have you really done that? And pay attention to the next time that he speaks, because he's always speaking. And what happened for me was, after I released and fought through that fear and that shadow that's just what I'm going to call it, holding me back, the next morning I woke up and I texted all of the women at church and my pastor, and I would never say this if it were not true. And I believe that they recognized that too, because I've never said it before. I woke up with a new pair of eyes. Not just, in reference to 2020 vision and whatever, but God gave me a new set of eyes that everything that I looked at in our home, I had a detachment to. It made very clear sense to me what was to leave and what was to stay, what I was to get rid of, and I got rid of a lot. People at church got bags of my clothes. My wardrobe is gone. My jewelry is gone. We got rid of things in our kitchen. We halted putting in the new floor. There were things that God had said, you're going to be able to do this and move this around. And once you do that, now you are going here. And it wasn't our plan. We had a plan before, and God shifted that, and we answered his call. So at this time in your life, and why we are making this video to share our experiences, because God is calling you to make a decision and a choice. And at any point, you need to consider what he is calling you to do and what you are wanting to do, and really decide if what you are choosing to do is what he's saying as well, because they're not always the same. No. And going on this walk 1,500 miles or more was a very big choice and to go with, but the confirmation that came to me when we decided we were all in, one thing came from Josh, and one thing God showed me. God showed Josh that he was praying. He said, why us? Why are we the ones that have to go on this walk? Why are we literally walking to Texas? And God said what?
He said, because you'll go.
Because you'll go.
Took me right back to Isaiah, because you'll go. Isaiah said, I'll go. Oh, okay, I'll go. All right, I'll go. That's it's plain and simple, because I'll actually do it.
And we did actually do it. And
yeah.
The second thing that came for me is that what God showed me is, I said, what is the outcome if we're not to go? And he clearly showed me that if we are not to go, there are major consequences. And so, I'll be a witness, and will be a witness, to say that not following God's voice has major consequences.
And with that, yeah, of course, there are consequences to not being in his will. But this didn't just start with us getting saved and then wham, bam, thank you, man, we're going out to do something. This started with cleaning toilets, working in hospitality, cooking food, like literally being a servant. And a lot of people need to wake up and realize that it is a servant mentality. If the Lord can trust you with the little things, he can trust you with the big things. And even to this day, as we go, it's not like we have he didn't give us a scheduled route. Go into Philly and head west, and then now we're where we are. And it has been day by day praying, okay, where do you want to go next? Where do you want us to go next? And walking in that direction, and he's leading and guiding it all. And this is a big thing is even where we're at, we're not lone wolves out here. And just to close it out, like, this is the main thing, I think, where we're at now. The biggest thing that we have seen just in the people that we've met is we're not lone wolves out here. I thank the Lord for our home churches, for our friends, our family, everybody that is involved that could make this happen in any way that they are, from the big things to the small things. We're not lone wolves. We still have a covering. We still have to, we call in and check back and have conversations. And this is the thing, anything that you do for the Lord, if you think you're going to do it lone wolf, no, there's no lone wolves in this. You need the fellowship of the saints. Portions of our trip have led us into like days with fellowship of the saints along the way after a couple weeks of not having that. And it is like, like a cold day and hopping in a hot bathtub. Like it feels so good just to be around, in a house of God or in a place of praise and worship with other saints. And so that's like the big thing that take away from anything of this. This is not a lone wolf thing. This is not us just on our own doing it. We're not, I can't say it enough. We're not claiming to be something that we're not. We're just a normal married couple with normal everyday things going on in their life, just trying to do what the Lord said to do. And so, I can't express that enough, is like, to really figure out what the Lord wants you to do, you're going to need to be under a covering. You're going to need to be in the fellowship of the saints. Iron sharpens iron, and you're going to need to be in that atmosphere. And it's the little things that you do now. We are no greater than the janitor or the custodian. We're no greater than the trash man. We're no greater than the person that does the dishes. We're no greater than any pastor. We're no greater than any prophet, any evangelist, any missionary. We're no greater than any usher. We're just servants for the Most High, just servants to Jesus Christ.
And we understand that not everyone is meant to go on this walk.
Absolutely
God
not.
has a call and purpose for everyone individually because of how he wants to orchestrate in this world. So to fulfill his will, you need to really have a strong relationship yourself with him.
Absolutely.
And grow in the church. And now it is challenging for people to find good places that, to belong to, good churches, and you need to be able to decipher the difference and discern what is truth and what is false. And to really get to know the truth, you need to be in his word. So what we were doing before all of this came down is we submitted to going to praise and worship, and making sure we were at Bible study and in prayer and following the fasting with our brothers and sisters, and really praying to get to know God better. And so that's how this has ended up for us and where God is taking us. We do know we'll end in Texas, but along the way we don't have a map routed out. God is just sharing and showing us where to go each step of the way. So it's one day at a time. And sometimes we find ourselves in a town like where we are now for a couple of days. And it's been really inspiring and comforting to hear God. So with all of this, I pray that you're all blessed by this video, that it spoke to you, that, maybe we've now begun a connection with you, that we could stay in touch and share more of what God is revealing to us, and that we could learn from you. And also that you will have the desire to seek him above anything that you would like to do or want to do. Seek him and his will and guidance, and keep godly patience. Not just for your own timekeeping, but for his. He has a plan, and keep the godly patience that he wants you to have, so that you can actually fulfill that full plan, because he's walking before you and he knows every step that you're about to take. So anything else?
Love thy neighbor as thyself, and go win souls for the kingdom. That's it. Worship the Lord.
So God bless you all. Continue to roll his way, seek his will, get to know the character of Jesus, and our God who gave his life so that we could live and enjoy, you know, in our journey, this 1,500-mile walk. But for whatever it is for you, I pray that you're blessed and that you have a great day.
Amen.
Bye.
Bye.